Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Online Mordor expansion preview with me, Balthelion, and today we are going to be looking at the new High Elf race which is going to be put into the game with the Mordor expansion. So you can see here I've got the patch notes up in the background. We're going to quickly touch a few of those points in a minute. But this is part of the second week beta, so obviously everything is subject to change. None of this is final, a lot of the new animations are not in for the elf as well, as we'll see once we get in game. And also the new character models as well are not in game as well, so we're not going to see those just yet. But just to touch on a few points which have come out of like streams and official sources in the last week, so there's been a few more updates. They've announced that there's going to be no physical edition of the expansion, which is probably as to be expected. There's going to be several different types of digital download. They haven't said how many. Traditionally, they've generally done at least two, usually three. But like you have the basic edition, which is basically just the expansion. That's pretty much it. Maybe a couple of minor bits and pieces. There's usually a top end one where it normally comes with like cosmetics, maybe a steed, some extra LOTRO points, and then sometimes they have like a third option, which is kind of like a mid-tier one, which kind of has a few more bits than the basic, but not everything that the deluxe one has. But they haven't announced how many editions there's going to be, but there's going to be multiple at least. But they haven't announced when that's going to be, how much it's going to cost. They did say to be confirmed soon. We'll have to see if they do that. They have, however, shot down the plans. So, well, there was no plans, but people's hopes that they could maybe convert a regular elf character into being a high elf character in order to stick with any like lore role-playing elements they had with that character, because if they've been role-playing as a high elf using a regular elf, all of a sudden that's kind of going to be shot in the foot now that there is a high elf class. But they've said that there's going to be no plans to do that, so if you were holding out for that, that's been now shut down. Pardon me. And the other thing they've shut down is they've announced that there's, as ever, still been no plans to reintroduce lifetime subs. So if you're like me and wish you had got one, you're still out of luck. You're not going to be able to get one of those. The other thing that they've announced graphic-wise is that the man and elf races, and that's both regular elf and high elf, should get their new character graphics at the Mordor launch, whereas the other races will get them post-Mordor launch. Now, they didn't elaborate whether that's going to be like a point update release, so 21.1.2 or whatever, or whether it would be a full release behind like update 22 towards the end of the year. We'll have to wait and see on that. But it would seem Bjorning is going to be the last race to be updated, because they've said, I can't remember exactly what their words were in one of the previous streams, but it was along the lines of Bjornings were more recent, so they kind of got slightly more up-to-date graphics, even though you can't really tell. So it may be more some back-end stuff rather than visual stuff, which makes them a bit more up-to-date, maybe easier to manage. So I think they'll probably get the last ones to get the revised character models, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. So then, we've got the patch notes on the screen behind me, so there's nothing major really since last week's preview. But the big one is that the High Elf is now available for testing. So we're going to try that in a moment. They do say though the visual appearance is still under development, so bear in mind what you see here is not going to be final. In particular, female high elf feet and hands do not properly show equipped gear, so whether they'll just be showing nothing or whether they'll be clipping through the stuff, I don't know. Many hairstyles are not complete, so don't complain that some of the hairstyles are a bit lacking. And what could be interesting on character creation, some facial options have not been properly located on the face, so I'm not sure how bad that's going to be. But as they've said, you know, the character visual updates are not yet on Mordor, so they're not going to be in there. And I've also put in some of this new Black Book of Mordor, where Shadows Lie, which is the new kind of story quest that's not epic story, but it's kind of its own separate thing related to Mordor. But we'll not be trying those today. So then, let's go and create ourselves a high elf. So I've got a couple of characters here on Mordor already. But if we go on High Elf then, so as we've noted previously, High Elf can play every class except Bjorning and Burglar. Because for law reasons they're not really going to be a Burglar. And only the Bjorning can be a Bjorning class, so that kind of rules those two out. But everything else is fair game. Probably most importantly is Captain, because everyone has always been upset that the only race that can play a Captain is an Elf. Is a man even. But now an Elf can also be a Captain, which makes sense because Elves would have had captains in their ranks, and probably even up dwarves and stuff as well. They would have been organised enough to do it. Hobbits wouldn't have, but there you go. Unless you can be a captain in the kitchens cooking pies or something. But we can go with any of these classes. And I think I mentioned on a previous video as well that we got these nice little new kind of like poses for all the classes as you do your character creation. So it's like captains got his hands on his greatsword, champions crossing his swords. Guardian's got his sword on his shoulder there and his hand on his shield. Hunter's got a bow at the ready. Lawmaster's got his book out. Sadly no pet. It'd be cool if they could have the pet on the stand as well. Minstrel has got the loot on the back. Runekeeper got the rune stones out that you can't really see him too well. And the Warden with the spear and shield. We're just going to go with the Captain. Keep it nice and simple. Obviously we've got male and female options. I'll just go with a male one. I probably won't do the character creation process for two of them. But as we've discussed previously, we've got High Elves who have held the beauty of Valinor, possess grace and strength beyond even their woodland kin. Those few who remain yearn to see that Middle-earth is safe to bequeath to men before they depart for the Undying Lands. And I'm not sure if they put the movie in, because previously this was playing the regular elf ones, so let's just see.
The kindred of the elves dwell among the...
That's going to be the regular elf one. Okay, so quit out that then. We'll continue onwards. But let's just go with Balthelion. Hopefully that's not taken. So we can have 5 origins of our High Elf. So we've got Balthelion, which is like to the west of Eriador, but that got kind of like sunk under the sea. Imladris, aka Rivendell. Nargothrond, which I can't remember exactly where that was located. Admittedly, my lore of the old days is a bit rusty. Gondolin was one that fell. Wasn't it attacked by the Balrog at some point? Is that where... did Glorfindel fight the Balrog at Gondolin? I don't know. And Osiriand... That's the last one. Which, yeah, I can't remember where those ones are exactly. So let's just read through these. So, Baleriand. In elder days, you dwelt in the fair elf lands of Baleriand, now broken and lost forever beneath the sea. Imladris. Driven from your home by death and war, you came to the hidden vow of Imladris, where you have long dwelt under Elrond's protection. Nargothrond. You have spent your younger days in the cavern fortress of Nargothrond, the hall of Finrod Felagund, whose beauty was lost in the wars of old. Gondolin. The memory of the White Towers of Gondolin, hidden city of the High Elves, still burns within you, though it fell to treachery long ago. And Osiriand. Your home of Osiriand survived the fall of Baleriand to become Gil-galad's realm of Lindon, now grown empty as the elves depart for Valinor. Now, is it going to give you different naming conventions? I assume they're all going to be the same naming conventions because they're going to have the same language structure, so yeah. So they're all going to be Sindarin names, it seems. So yeah, you can go with the same old naming conventions. We've just got all the regular details for our characters here. We haven't got the advanced animations and stuff, but we can have a little flick through. Some of these might look a bit weird and stuff, but we'll have to see. But we've already got a couple of new hairstyles. I don't know what I've done there, but I've made some hair clip through his cheek. With his head options. Yeah, you can flick through all your regular stuff. Right, hairstyle is probably the most interesting one, because at the minute you've got kind of like a strawy one. There's only 8 in there. A bit of a longer one. So I imagine that some of these will change. I don't know whether they'll take the 8 like hairstyles or whatever options are currently here, and whether they'll have the old version 1 to 8 and then the new version 1 to 8, or how they're going to mix and match these. We'll have to see. So yeah, number 3 a bit longer, just past the shoulders. Number 4, we've got a bit of a comb over there. Number 5, we've got it kind of brushed back and a little knot there at the back. Number 6, again just a little bit longer at the back. Number 7, short but with a bit of a comb over. And number 8, a short one with a knot. So eye options, not too much there for shading the eyes, eyebrows. Got some thick ones as well. I should probably darken the hair a bit so you can see these a bit better. So, nothing amazing there. Mouth options, probably the standard ones, just have some slightly thicker lips and bits. Different shadings. Details, we've got 3 options. Oh, hello. So we've got nothing. We've got the little circlet that's actually put into our character model, which is interesting. I don't know what happens then if you equip a circlet on your character's head. Then it looks like you've got 2 of them. What's the third one? So we've got like a little small blue gem and a slightly larger red gem in there. Kind of fair different amounts of skin tones. Are they going to vary by race? The skin tones are not going to be varied by race, but the hair colour is. So Balthelion has some dark coloured hairs. Imladris is the same. Nargothrond can go some like golden shades. So if you want some more yellow coloured hairs, go for that kind of background. Gondolin's pretty golden, and Osiriand is pretty golden as well. All the eye colours I think are the same, so green-blue spectrum, so nothing amazing there. Let's just sneak back then, and let's have a look at the female options. So just coming straight back in. So hairstyles, what we've got? So again, we've got a kind of like a curtainy approach here, shoulder length. One that's a little bit shorter. One with a bit of a comb over. Just a long one, just past the shoulders there. More of a bit of a swept fringe. And one with a long ponytail. A bit of a fringe fleck there. And this one's a bit of a shorter version of that. So I think they'll probably tidy that up because that's a bit messy at the minute there. So one where it's swept back into a small ponytail. And then one with like a kind of like a Celtic knot kind of thing going on there. But right, so let's go back then. Let's go switch back for a man one. I'll just run through with a pretty standard character. So let's just call him Balthelion. And engage. Now I have been slightly spoiled as to what's going to happen when we go in this. I hope I did say don't skip the thing. I'll just try another one. Just to make sure it's not going to... It doesn't say... doesn't give me the option to skip, does it? No, so I think I should be right. Alright. But yeah, I have had some slight spoilers as to what to expect in the start area. Particularly a certain individual that we're supposed to interact with. So based on that, I think I've got a good idea where we're going to have our little intro area. But let's see. Kick it off. And hopefully it won't just completely freeze here. But this is not on my SSD, the beta client. Hello. You can't get in. The way is shut. But it's open now, so it's fine. One does not simply click enter Middle Earth. So it'd be interesting to see how much of the voiceover stuff is in as well for this. And if we've got any cutscenes, hopefully, as well. Okay, so here we are then. We are as you will note on the right hand side, once I've got rid of all these help tooltips. Yes, and my bags are going to be full of crap. And also my UI is not going to be great. Can I layout load? There we go. Gets it zoomed in a bit better. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so we are buffed up horrifically, as you can see here. Spoilers. We are at Daggerlad in the Second Age SA 3434, where you will notice, if you don't know your... it's not going to open up on the map, but Daggerlad is the fields of battle just outside Mordor, where we have the Last Alliance. You are one among many of your kin and allies standing in defiance of the Dark Lord Mordor, Sauron. We actually get a 30% melee crit chance. So this is back at the end of the Second Age, when the Last Alliance of Elves and Men were attacking Mordor to try and put an end to Sauron, where Sauron eventually ended up being defeated and being powerless until the modern age. But because we're a high elf, I don't want to use the word ancient, but we've been around a long time, put it that way. But what's interesting though is that we get buffed up to 110. So we're going to meet a very important character who is part of this battle, and probably several people that were around in this battle. We'll have to wait and see. So, Halfling. Balthelion, you seemed as if lost in a trance, and I could not rouse you until this very moment. My dearest friend, do not allow the enemy to cloud your thoughts with visions of defeat. As Sauron surely knows, the mastery is ours in this battle. Alas, a cornered foe is the most deadly, and there are none more treacherous than the enemy in this realm. We must put our troubles behind us, for the moment, and press our advantage. High King Gil-galad has summoned us, Balthelion. Let us go. So yes, Gil-galad was leading the elf forces here. Wasn't Elrond his squire at this point? Although obviously in the movies they kind of changed that, made it a bit more prominent. Isildur, we have called upon all the armies and peoples we could, but it still may not be enough. King Riok, the Oathbreaker, and his traitorous kin have fled into the mountains. And Durin has sent only a few hundred of his folk. Hearken to me, elves and men, the time for debate is ended. Sauron sows only division among those who would oppose him, and see now what it has done. The kings of Lorien and the Woodland Realm pressed their forces into certain defeat, and why? They allowed their pride to blind them to the enemy's treachery. Sauron is swift to twist the pride and fear of his foes into weapons of his own. The men of Numenor that remain in this realm know his treachery all too well. Indeed, the fates of Numenor and Eregion are tragic, but Sauron's wrath has grown only more terrible since those dark years. If we fall to defeat in this battle, there will never again be a force to oppose him. The Dark Lord gathers strength anew beyond the Black Gate. We must throw down the Morannon. Only then shall Sauron himself be forced to atone for the evil he has laid upon our peoples. We must put an end to his evil before... A distant horn blows as a scout rushes forward. Can I move yet? No. High King! Riders approach from beyond the Morannon. It is a meagre assemblage, only 9 in number. I wonder who that could be. Might the enemy seek to parley at last? Sauron does not wield his servants as ambassadors. Allow them to ride forth unhindered, but remain on guard. We shall meet them in the field. I want that shield, or that one. Either of them are good. They're pretty cool. At last, the bearers of the 9 rings reveal themselves. The Shadow Kings, the Gwefrain. They have returned out of the darkness. What, and you're going to go meet them on your own? There we go. Oh, so we've got Kid and the shipwright as well with us. Glorfindle's there, given that he doesn't really do anything in-game apart from sit around in Rivendell. They approach. I like everyone has like really cool gear, and I'm just in like crappy like starter gear. Oh, they're all going to have names as well. The Cursed Rider. We've seen the Grim Savron, the Bane of Ruin, the Gloom of Nirn, the Woe of Kand, the High Sorcerer of Harad, Blackblade of Lebanon we've seen, and the Forsaken Reaver. So they've named all 9 of them in game now. Ah, the Elf King and the Accursed Faithful. My master has bidden me to deliver his terms. Terms? Have we assembled so great an alliance that your master now seeks to surrender? Sauron the Great speaks not of his surrender, but of yours. Speak then, servant of Sauron. I am no mere servant. You speak to a king of men and the lord of the Nazgul. Nazgul, do not no longer speak in your own tongue. You are no king. The ring you bear has seen to that. Silence, elf wretch. These are his terms. Cerbrimbor crafted 3 rings in mockery of his design. You will surrender them and swear oaths to never again come before the gates of Mordor. You would be wise indeed to accept his kindness. And if we should accept, what promise can he give that he shall not again make war against us? He offers none. Peace cannot be made with Sauron. Such an offer is merely another of his lies. Go now, flee to your master, and tell him that his doom approaches. So be it. Sauron the Great has stayed my hand for the moment, but his patience is nearly ended. It is you and this pitiful host who should flee. For soon, no shelter, no matter how well hidden, shall be free of Sauron's dominion. And let's do a horsey rear up just to, for dramatic effect. Balthelion, let us speak. Balthelion, before the 9 arrived, I sent forth the spears of Lindon, with a garrison of elves and men. With Sauron's demands rejected, we can no longer hold hope that the Gwefrains shall stay their hands in this battle. You know the spears as Feleron, Megaril, and Durnaith, my friend, and they have stood by my side through many great battles against Sauron and the most terrible of his servants. Ere they departed, they swore to cross the enemy's trenches and dismantle their siege equipment. It is true enough that the catapult shot has not hit our position in some time, but the wider front has been brought to ruin by those very tools. You must now be my scout and my messenger. Learn what has become of their garrison, and if any of them yet live, deliver to them a message of hope. The Alliance marches upon the Black Gate, and no evil man or orc shall stand in the way of our victory over Sauron. Go, my friend. I shall ready the Alliance to advance upon the Moronon. Be swift and safe, Balthelion. I assume we're going this way. So, crossing the fields of battle. We can't really see too much because there's smoke. We are running south, so possibly... I don't know whether the Black Gate's over here somewhere. Right, so we're going to have a lot of crit chance without one attack that we've got, and a shout. Just wait for a bit of a cooldown on the shout though, unfortunately. So this is going to be pretty slow going, but my understanding as well is it's kind of going to be like somewhat like the Bjorning intro, because unlike that one, I think if you're really low level or under leveled when you come out of the Bjorning intro, you kind of get automatically set to a certain level, whether it's, I don't know whether it's 5 or 7. And then my understanding is in this you're probably not going to get much XP, if any, to level up inside the instance. But once you exit it, you will become level 5 by default, and then placed in the outside world. Alright, there's quite a few people up here. I don't know if we have to end up fighting all of these guys. Obviously, depending on what class you've got, you're going to have different basic attacks, so it might not be as slow and clunky as it is the poor old captain here. Sad thing is as well, I seem to be using a club of all things. Who are you, sir? Man, swiftly now, this way. Why do I get the feeling you're going to die before we get to our destination, sir? Okay, hop across here. I think we're approaching the Black Gate in the distance over there. The spears of Linden have held against Sauron's forces, but they fight a desperate battle. So here they are up ahead. So we have to deliver the message. There's some fighting going on the left there. Hail Balthelion, I am Megaril of Lindon. How fare the battles to the north? You tell Megaril of your encounter with the Gwefrain, and deliver the High King Gil-galad's message. If we shall truly strike at the Black Gate this day, the alliance must come soon hither. We did as the High King commanded, and brought the enemy's weapons to ruin. But when the Gwefrain appeared, they slew many of our number, and divided our forces upon the Dagorlad. The faces by which I once knew the Gwefrain, when they first took the rings, have long faded. But this one I knew by his blade. The Cursed Rider he is called, he goaded his steed onward over the backs of elf, man, and orc alike. Regrettably, we were forced into retreat before we could aid many of them from the field of battle. We now struggle to hold the only path over the great trenches, and the enemy's forces have brought forth more trebuchets and ballistae upon the Dagorlad. Aid the wounded in battle, and let us hope that the alliance shall arrive to drive off the enemy's forces. We've got Dernief over here. Speak quickly, friend, for our foes surge from the east. You tell Dernief of your encounter with the Gwefrain, and deliver the High King's message. The Gwefrain, 2 of their number, passed through our garrison from the north. One rode westward and scattered our numbers, but the other, he took Feleron. In the midst of battle, he caught Feleron's sword arm in a cruel coil of rope and dragged him eastward by his fell steed. I could not follow for the mass of orcs. I felled him. I felled the High King, but I must fight on. So that's why we only see 2 of these guys here then. So rescue wounded soldiers from the orcs west of the forward garrison. So we need to go this way then. So presumably they're going to be standing over the corpses. Yeah, there we go. Right. So we can rescue any of these 6 people. There's probably going to be a few more of them, and we can probably get the respawns as well if needed. Right, there we go. Right, so he's going to come up straight away. Are you going to run off on your own? Thank you, my friend. We held for a time, but the rider split our ranks and slew all that stood in his path as he rode westward. There we go, he's going to run off. There we go, fight you, sir. So there's a couple more over there. I don't know if there's any more to the north. The rider cast us aside as he passed. Even the orcs fled at his approach. So yeah, this is incredibly slow going. And we're not actually earning any experience at all, so it's just going to keep us level 1 throughout the battle, just to make sure we don't get over leveled, I guess. I I could not stand against the orcs after the rider passed. So go up the hill. There's another one. He's run in front of me, so I can't attack the damn guy. Thank you. I can make it as far as the garrison. There's not one on the right, is there? No, right. So we need these last two guys here then. The rider ran me down. I cannot. I think he's not going to make it. He's dead, Jim. Last one. Shout on the back one, just because this one's nearly dead anyway. Prince Fanduil lives, but the rider has him. Where is he? Leave me, friend. He is trapped in the Vale. There they are. Are you dead as well, mate? Rescue Prince Fanduil to the west. So there we go. He's only a prince. This is Legolas's daddy. There is no escape for you. See you now the fate of those who defy my master. The Dark Lord holds no power over me, Wraith. Be my fate sealed or not, my arrow shall fly true. Fool! Wills can be broken, Fanduil, son of the Greenwood, and this blade shall see to that. Hello. 3 nasty spiders. What is this? The accursed spawn of Ungwatari. You think you could threaten me? Sauron shall not forgive her this time. Well, 2 have run off. We fighting this one. Hello. Stay back. I will leave you in peace for what you have done. But no, the mini spiders won't leave us in peace though. I imagine killing the little mini spiders is probably not going to do us any favours. Yeah, we've angered the big spider. Thankfully we've got backup, so Glorfindel and Elrond have decided to come and help us out here. But hopefully they've got some damage, because my 2 attack skills are not going to do too much in the meantime. I'm going to slowly whittle down this thing then. Now, I'm not too sure about Ungwatari in the lore of spider history, because they're way back in the first one was Ungoliant, which somewhere down the spider family history is Shelob. But wasn't Ungoliant kind of like the fallen divine spirits? So like not necessarily a Maiar, but on par with them. I have to research all my history for this when they actually come out. Right, there we go. We've scared it off. Be gone. So there we go. I think he's all right. He's just I don't know, sprained an ankle or something. Speak to Elrond then. The prince is fortunate to have survived his father's attack on the Black Gate, but the Gwafran's words trouble me. The rider spoke a name in Kenya ere he departed. Ungwatari, the Spider Queen. Ungoliant is gone from this realm, and shall trouble the world no longer, but her children remain, preying on anything they can devour, spreading her darkness throughout Middle-earth. One among them must now hunger as she did, without a care for the powers of the Dark Lord, and without any purpose other than to consume. These are unhappy tidings, my friend, even if it seemed fortuitous that the great spiders turned upon the rider. If we do not face this child of Ungoliant in the war, it is certain that the day will come when our hunger shall seek to sate itself beyond the shadows of Mordor. The High King gave me leave to pursue you at the urging of the Spears of Lindon, but he has called for your return at once. The Alliance has come to the forward garrison at last. Reunite with them there, Balthelion, and make ready for our assault upon the Black Gate. Glorfindel and I shall tend the prince's wounds. Go now, Balthelion. So we're going to head back then. I guess we're going to the forward garrison. I have to run past this. Is this setting us a slightly different way? Because I think they've changed, yeah, the layout of the stuff. Because I think before we came across those hills. So the battle was shifted on. Actually, we're going a bit further forwards. We're going over here. With that, I've got completely lost. Elrond spoke true. The High King and Elendil have come at last. So speak to them. I am glad to see you again, Balthelion. Dernev and Megoril have told me of Felron's capture, and I am troubled by such grim tidings. The Dark Lord would not have soon forgotten the wounds he suffered at our hands, and I fear what form his vengeance might take. Even now, as I wish to abandon my duty, I cannot turn my eyes from the Black Gate at such a crucial hour. Thus I give you this mission of dire importance. You must find Felron, and you must save him from the Gweferain. As for the Alliance, one of Durin's folk has devised a cunning plan to draw the attention of the Dark Lord's forces and allow for a swift strike against the Black Gate. In truth, I know not if this plan shall bear fruit, but we must conquer the gate if Sauron is to be defeated. I would ask that you speak to Slegar the Crafty. He is an honourable enough dwarf, despite his chosen title. Once you have done as he asks, pursue the Gweferain and rescue Felron. Our paths are now divided, my friend, but let us hope each of them lead to victory. May the light of the Valar shine upon us. So speak to him then. At your service, Balthelion, or perhaps you are at mine. Have you considered how the enemy's trenches never seem to stop burning? Well, I have. Slegar gestures to the pile of barrels beside him. These barrels are filled with a crude black powder that explodes when exposed to flame. Not only that, but it burns for hours afterwards. Aye, if it were more useful in stonework, I think Durin himself would have steal us some away. The Dark Lord's Black Riders, the damned ringwraiths as the men call them. They're wily enough, but these goblins are none too bright. They've left the barrels right next to their own ballista and catapults. Why don't you set some of them off? That ought to put an end to their siege and draw their attention long enough for the Alliance to reach the Black Gate. Just make sure you don't stick around once you light them. So we have to set 8 barrels of flame. Don't know why the rings are still showing up with these guys. On the minimap at least. So this time we're going eastward. So we should see some barrels. We're probably going to have to fight a few guys as well. Yeah, there's a couple of goblins lying around as well. Oh, there we go. Whoa, Jesus Christ. That was a nice number. 399,413 light damage to morale. That was a glorious hit. That was amazing. I'm pretty sure my shout doesn't always do that, because otherwise it would have one-shot things before. So I don't know whether the goblins are just like incredibly weak or something. Okay, that's one. That's just a goblin. See, that shout only did 12,000, so I'm not entirely sure what was wrong with the other goblin. He went down hard. Oh, he evaded, the cheeky git. So I think we're going to make our way kind of around there. There's another shot of the Black Gate in the distance. There seems to be some torches floating in the background though. Whether something hasn't rendered in or whether that's a bit of a bug in the landscape at the minute. There we go, right. Oh, annoyingly, I don't think we can kind of like cheat and oh, that was a good shout. It's not like some of the goblins in Dunland and Rohan where you can set up the black powder and it literally like blows them into high orbit, which is a shame because that's quite fun. God, he's a shouty one, isn't he? Jesus Christ! I don't know if that's as loud as it is for me as it is for you guys. You're dead. Stop screaming. Christ almighty. Perfectly timed scream as that barrel exploded. That was glorious. You cannot defeat me, but you're already dead. Oh, you're going to carry on screaming as well. Okay. Alright, there's another one here. Oh, there's 2 of them. Scribbling his face. There we go. Alright, so that's number 6. Got 2 more. There's one behind this big barrel here. And that's the last one over there. Now, if we're lucky, we might be able to sneak around this one. Just to avoid combat. There we go. That's 7. And then back the way we came behind this catapult over here. That's number 8. This guy we're going to have to fight, I think, because he's a bit too close to the barrel. So we scribble his face. And slowly auto-attack him to death. But I think the idea is obviously they don't want to confuse you because you're inside a quest instance, so there's a lot of stuff going on. So chucking new skills at you if you're a new player, and that would just be like really confusing and stuff. Hoofprints. Let's investigate. The unmistakable hoofprints of the Gwafran steed lead to the northeast. So we can follow this. Now it's going to send us through these other guides, unfortunately. There we go. So we carry on following these. We're going to go across some kind of makeshift bridge, which is a fallen statue by the looks of it. Out through the smoke. You dragged him off. He'd probably like die from being dragged. Who are you, sir? You're a generic elf. Balthelion, can it be? Follow me. Lady Halfling shall want to speak to you. You have not found Feleron or the Gwafran, but a familiar elf stands before you. Lady Halfling, Balthelion has come from across the battle plain. Balthelion, I am gladdened by this reunion, but there is little else to celebrate. The High King sent me and my company eastward to learn what has become of the Elves of Laurelin, but alas, only Prince Amroth remains upon the field. His father and the others were routed to the north, but where they have gone, we cannot follow. The prince is injured, but he will heal in time. I must ask, though, why have you come? You tell Halfling of the task given to you by the High King himself, and of Feleron, the lost spear of Linden, taken by one of the Gweferain. Your tale troubles me, for Amroth spoke of a terrible figure that passed with an elf slung across his steed. Time may grow short for Feleron, my friend. I think it is time we learned more of what the prince saw. So this is not to be confused, obviously, with the Prince of Dol Amroth, or Dol Amroth in Gondor, but that is where it gets its name. Prince Amroth, can you tell my companion about the rider you saw? As much as I do not wish to recall him, I can. From what you have told me, he was one of the 9 Gweferain, garbed in black and seated upon a great steed. I know not if he still lived, but an elf was slung limply across the Gwafran steed. He lifted aloft a great mace, and with a crack of thunder his master's statue was toppled. So that's probably the one that we just crossed on the bridge. It was then he looked upon me, and what remained beneath his hood sniffed madly at the air. There was a sorcery in his gaze, I tell you, for his eyes were as flames in a void. Perhaps he thought me slain, for he then rode on into the hills. No, it cannot be. It can be no other Hifgol. The Witch King has taken Feleron. Hang on a minute, I thought it was the other one. Be wary, the men of the east who slew my father have an encampment in the hills, and it is there they must have gone. Thank you, Prince Amroth. If the men of the east hold the hillside, then we must go by secret steps. When my company came to Prince Amroth's aid, I heard a great cry and a thunder like flapping wings from above. It sounded like some terrible flying creature, as great in size as the eagles. I could not spy it through the smoke, but I am certain it lurked beyond my sight. I do not know if this creature is a servant of Sauron's, but its presence makes me fear all the more for Feleron. If the Witch King has taken him to the Overlook, we must pass through the Easterling encampment ahead. The men of the East have grown arrogant behind Sauron's might, and they might have left a small passage in their encampment open to the woodlands. Follow me, and we shall sneak in and avoid the dangers of approaching their gate upon the road. So we're going to find a way up the hillside, it seems. I'd like to think, though, if I was coming to, you know, the battle of all battles, I would have at least bought something better than a wooden club. Just saying. A two-hander would have been nice. Okay, so we're sneaking up some mountain pass. They'll never suspect this. Oh wait, they are. We must move quietly, Balthelion. It is not far now. We're moving so quietly. We're going to be spotted either way. Hold! Their sentry seems on the edge of sleep. You're going to slit his throat. Donk. Face your doom, men of the East. Oh, that was a good shot. So where are we going? We're probably going to go up the hill then. Is their camp? Or is this hill leads to their camp? I think the hill leads to the camp. So we're going to make our way up here then, I guess. Lady Halfling, come back this way. Unless you're going through the gate, in which case let's go through there. The stairs up the hill lead to the Overlook. You must save Feleron. So we need to follow the hoofprints. Go, Balthelion. Do not worry for me. Go now. I shall keep them from following. So she's going to hold the gate, basically. Alright. Because that is fell steed. Well, if he's left his horse behind, the Witch King's steed thrashes wildly at your approach. He and Feleron must be nearby. So if he's ditched his horse, maybe he's upgraded to a flying mount. Based on the story we've got so far. We're approaching some kind of evil structure up here. So this is probably not going to end well either way. Maybe he's breakfast for a flying mount. Oh, hello, we're coming up here instead. So I guess we can go around either way and he's going to be in front at the middle. Facing this statue. Okay. There he is. The Witch King of Angmar. Wake up, sir.
You come too late, servant of Gil-galad. Your fear has left you defenseless, and the elf has been borne away by the winged beasts of my master. The Elf King will never see him again, for he shall suffer evermore in the dungeons of Barad-dûr. But you, Balthelion, you shall be changed, and you will return to Gil-galad as his greatest foe. Such is the will of Sauron.
He's holding a small dagger. Unless that's meant to be a normal sized sword.
Suffer now, and rise anew into the realm of the unseen.
So here we are then. We're in the Troll Shores in Rivendell Valley. So what have we got to do? We've got to mumble at Halfling and try to move. So we need to select Halfling, which admittedly, for a new player, this is going to be a bit confusing because you've got to try and fiddle around with your camera a bit, assuming they know that they can do that. And we can do the mumble emote or type /mumble. Can it be? As I spring up and stand up on my bed and then go back down and lie down again. Lord Elrond, Balthelion has awoken at last. Rest easy, my friend. You are safe from harm in Imladris. We've upgraded to full-on Elrond now. The wound is healed, but Balthelion remains in need of rest, Halfling. Rest well, my friend. I shall return in... And I've passed out again. When at last you could rest, you did so for many long years. And the question is that long years in elf terms, or what? Despite my efforts, your strength has diminished greatly. So basically you've been nerfed from being a uber powerful high elf. It may take a great time, but I believe you shall know the power that lies within you. So basically you need to start from level 1 and level up and get all the funky skills back. As for the task given you by Gil-galad, do you not consider it No, that doesn't make grammatical sense. It should be, there should not be a U in there. It should be, do not consider it a failure, Balthelion, rather than do you not consider it a Balthelion full stop, rather than question mark. But whatever, it's a bug. That's the kind of thing we have to point out to them and get them to fix. None could have foreseen the enemy's malice in sending his Nazgul to seize Feleron. Tragically, he was never found, even after Barad-dûr itself was brought to ruin. I wonder if that's be a plot point for like class quest as we go on. We find that he's been turned into a wraith or something. It wounded Gil-galad greatly to lose you both in the war, and it is said that his light was dimmed through all the battles that followed. Even so, he did not falter before the enemy. No, you did not fail in vain, my friend. Our victory on the battle plain that day bore fruit indeed. Sauron resisted our assaults for 7 years in the Dark Tower, but in the end he was cast down by Gil-galad and Elendil. Elendil's son Isildur cut the ring from the Sauron's finger, destroying the Dark Lord and banishing him from this realm. Alas, there is more to be said on these matters. So we're going to go for a little walk. Walk with me, Balthelion. You remember the war as if it were yesterday, do you not? You are one of the few that remain in this realm that can recall it as I do, my friend. Or there's going to be thousands of them on launch day, just saying. I come here often to reflect on the sacrifices we made in that war. Indeed, Gil-galad and Elendil defeated the Dark Lord, but they did so at the cost of their own lives. The realms of elves and men were thus forever changed, and the world passed into the Third Age. And so it has been for many years now. So if I basically slept through the entire Third Age. I do not wish to alarm you, Balthelion, but it is now the 3018th year of the Third Age. Yes, I've been asleep a very long time. Even if much else has changed, Imladris is as you remember it. You have borne many burdens in your time, my friend, and so I give you leave to depart to the Havens if you wish it. Nah. There is another here who sustained a terrible wound in the war. Hifgol is his name. Since chance has woken you today, perhaps he too is healed of the enemy's wounds. See if he is awoken from his long rest, and then we shall speak more of your journey to the Havens. So is he the guy who looks like his neck's been broken? Yes. Despite appearing outwardly healed, Hifkul seems to be in a deep, uneasy slumber. His strength is returning, but he remains in a restless slumber. A few months more, I think. So there we go. Talk to Elrond, gather your belongings, and depart on your journey with his sons. It is unfortunate to hear of Hifkul's continued ills, but I hold hope he shall soon recover as you have, Balthelion. You see, when the battle came at last to Barad-dûr, Sauron himself felled Hifkul with a deadly blow, and it seemed only by the grace of the Valar that he was not at once ended. Even still, the steel of the Dark Lord's weapons was tainted in much the same way as the blade that pierced you, and he has suffered its effects, as you did for many long years. Now then, we have spoken enough of the past. Let us turn our minds to the days ahead. Much has changed since we last travelled together from Inladgis, my friend. It seems now an age of men, and I sense the time of the elves in Middle-earth draws near to its end. Indeed, many have departed this realm for the uttermost west by the ships of Círdan, our friend of old. He is now called the Shipwright by those who know of his works, and he dwells in Mithlond, aka the Grey Havens, with the few that still remain in his service as skilled crafters. Much of the wood used by Círdan is ferried to Mithlond by way of the port of Celondim along the Ered Luin, and it is there you must journey to reach the Havens. I wonder if we're going there, that'd be pretty cool. Balthelion, I have gathered your belongings and a few supplies for your journey. I have set your ring in its case upon the... A ring? I've got a ring? I assume it's not going to be some uber power ring. I have set your ring in its case upon the table across the room, and your armour rests in a chest at your bedside. It is still marked from battle, but time has not worn it elsewise. Indeed, the passing of an age has dimmed only our light, and given rise to a shadow in the east. Concerning such matters, I have also prepared for you a tome of writings on the history of the Third Age thus far. You are free to claim them ere you depart. Once you are prepared, we shall speak more of your journey to Celondim. So there we go, we've got the stuff on the right there, Elrond's writings. So we've got a quest item, so do we need to actually read this? Does that actually put it in my bags? All I see is my normal stuff that I get from the bits and pieces. Talk to Elrond, gather your belongings, so we need to go back to our bed then. There we go, sealed collection of armour, which we are carefully collecting. Probably needs a bit of ironing after all these years. Jeweller's case. Within this ornate box, your eye catches the glimmer of the ring you once bore. Very good, Balthelion. That's actually got a name as well. Meletia. A lesser elf ring forged as an essay in the craft by the smiths of Eregion before Sauron, in the guise of Anfaron the Gift Lord, weaved his own corruption into their works. And I get a full load of stuff. Very good, Balthelion. In time, your strength will return, my friend, and the power of your ring shall rise with it. It scales with me? That's amazing if it does. I hope my writings prove to be of use to you as well. I recount much of the time that passed while your wound healed, but even I cannot be aware of all that has transpired since the end of the Second Age. As for your journey, my sons shall see you to Celondim in the course of their own travels. Eladan and Elrohir are to follow an expedition to the ruins of Balthelion, led by the elf Dorales, on my behalf. Speak not of this to any outside their company, but I had a strange premonition, and in it, amidst a field of blurred visions, a voice rose, saying, "Blood-red footsteps upon snow-coloured black, where the Dour King walks to take back his throne and finish what was begun. It is a troubling riddle, my friend, and one that I do not think soon solved. Have you any thoughts on its meaning?" You hear a muffled creak as the doors to Tamsend open. Ah, it is just as well. Such troubles are best left to Doralus and his expedition. My sons await you by the door to the central courtyard, and when you are ready to depart, they shall guide you to Celondim along the arid Luin. May your journey be swift and free of hardship, my friend. Nabari. So, do any of these look vaguely interesting? It's not going to show me any of this stuff on the preview window, is it? I don't know if these will look funky whenever we actually launch. We get the novice trait as well. This is probably going to ding us straight up to level 5 as well. We get a sword, or if you prefer a one-handed sword rather than the mace, but we'll go with the sword. So it seems it's still going to have more stuff to do. Here they go. Hi lads. So nothing else to talk with Elrond, so let's talk to Elra here then. So, Father has at last given you leave to travel from Inlabjus, Balthelion. I must say, I am excited to learn more of the battles of ages past from you. Father told us not to bother you with so many questions, but this is likely our last chance, it is not? I am certain Father has told you all about your journey ahead, but do not worry. The matter of his dream need not trouble you. Besides, the journey to Mithlond shall give us time enough to speak on other matters. I would think the events of the past 3,000 years would be of some interest to you. My brother and I stand ready to set out for the arid Luin. If you are prepared, we shall depart at once.
The old refuge of Balthelion lies abandoned, a ruined testament to the greed of Skorgrim Dourhand. 600 years after its fall, dwarves inhabit the ancient halls in the mountains, and Elrond of Rivendell, sensing a threat, has sent his sons Elrohir and Elladan along with a company of elves to investigate.
There we go, we're sent to Celondim now, which has now finished the intro area. So after this point, we would be free to quest as we normally would inside Ered Luin. So regular elves, after they've done their starter area, which would have been, I can't remember the name of the refuge, but it's the refuge to the east of Four Winds Gate up in the hills. They would get sent down here, and then elves normally quest upwards towards this guy in the middle, whereas the dwarves come downwards and they kind of meet, and then they end up going off and have their own plot lines. Now, the only other thing to note is, does this elf...
Sweet-eyed Malon, will you stay a moment?
I think this is probably the regular elf prologue. So I'm not going to go and do any of these, but normally each of the races, once you get into the game, there's like a prologue to the epic story, which is unique to each race. I'm guessing that the High Elves are just going to follow the regular elf one rather than putting in a whole new prologue, because that's kind of pointless. And they've obviously been hinting, as with that video that was just there, which I'm pretty sure is the same one that the regular elves get. It's the old video, which just sort of sets them up for the storyline that's going to run through Ered Luin as it goes through. But yeah, so that's it for now then. That seemed pretty robust. There's not any major bugs in there besides some weird typos and casing of words and stuff. So one other thing that we will probably do, which we can't do at the moment, is look at the virtue trait. So I might just have to cut away and meet you guys in a minute when I can actually show you guys those. Okay, so we're back then, and I've just quickly got myself a level up so that I am level 6 and I have access to virtues. So what you see on your screen now are the 9 racial traits available to High Elves, which are still works in progress, so some of these may change before they go live. So, starting from the top left then, so we've got Grace of the Firstborn. You move swiftly and effortlessly through this world, plus 10% out of combat run speed. So, nothing game breaking, it's something different. Can't see any major issue with that. It's probably nice. Obviously it's only going to affect out of combat run speed, so it's not going to give you a combat advantage. That could be useful. I don't know whether that's going to irritate some of the PvMP players, whether that presumably would stack with run speed buffs or whatever, so it could be maybe a slight issue in the Ettermoors, but otherwise I don't see any problem with that. Those who remain, you resist the call to the west, knowing that there is still work to be done in Middle-earth, +2 will. Presumably that scales up a little bit as we go, but probably caps at like 20 will or something. But it's not going to be a huge one. All the other races have those traits. In this day and age, they don't really do much, but I suppose for consistency, they're just keeping the High Elf to have one of those. Virtuous High Elf. So again, every race has something like this, where you get buffs to 3 random virtues. In this case, Wisdom, Confidence and Justice. The virtues of the High Elves are represented strongly in you. This trait does not apply to unequipped or capped virtues. So if you have this slotted, it just gives you a +1 to whatever your current virtue rank is in those 3. But it only gives you the bonuses if you've got those slotted. So, every class has got one of those. In this day and age, is it really that important? I would say probably not. Enmity of Darkness. Your very presence pushes back the shadow. +5% light type damage. Now this is an interesting one. So pretty much all of the races have something which buffs their weapon type damage. Now High Elf does get one of these over as well. They've got Blade Dance over here, which we'll touch upon in a moment. But certain classes have skills which do light type damage. So Captain, for one, does light type damage. I believe on like things like the Shout should be, there we go, light damage. So this trait makes it very good for something like a Captain. Also a Minstrel. I think Captain and Minstrel are probably the two that are going to benefit most from this, rather than other classes. Other classes have like the odd light skill here and there, but those two have got quite a few light skills. So this kind of pushes you quite nicely into preferring a High Elf if you like those sort of classes. So Blade Dancer then, your blade work is as deadly as it is beautiful to behold. So it gives you a +2.5% damage bonus to both one-handed and two-handed swords. So as I said before, all classes have some kind of weapon type damage. High Elves favour swords, so if you like swords, you're good there. We've got the standard map to somewhere racially appropriate, so travel to Karas Gladhun. This enables you quickly to return to Laurelin, so you just get a 1 hour cooldown mapping skill once you've got that. And then the other 3 are 3 that will grant you special skills. So we've got Wrath of the Firstborn, which if I just pop it up so I can get the other tooltip as well. So this will give you a skill with a 10-minute cooldown, which will increase your group damage to everyone in your group within 15 meters. So 5% damage boost for 10 seconds on a 10-minute cooldown. So immediately that's kind of like a mini kind of like Captain's Oathbreakers type buff. So again, this synergizes very nicely with a Captain. Or again, perhaps a Minstrel, because a Minstrel can do Anthem of War to also buff damage. So again, very nice for those classes. Then the second one, which I think is quite interesting, if it will stay still. The Grace of Valinor. So you are able to revive an ally from defeat. This is only one out of combat. It is a 30-minute cooldown. It's not a use on demand. It'd be nice if it had no cooldown, but as a racial trait they tend to have really crappy cooldowns anyway. But any class can get through their racial trait the ability to revive an ally, which is pretty nice. Reviving them with 50% morale, 40% power, which is pretty good, because then all of a sudden you can have a hunter that can revive an ally. So if you're during with a friend, family, whoever, that could be quite a nice trait to have actually. So I can see that one getting slotted quite a bit. And the last one that's currently here is Glory of the First Age. So this is like the typical random attack that each class, each race gets. So it's going to be a single target stun, 3 seconds stun, which requires this to have this trait equipped. presumably it's practically a guaranteed stun, short of missing your attack and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe could be useful in a clutch scenario, but the racial combat skills are generally not that great, to be honest. You certainly won't be using it for the damage, and I don't think it's going to have any damage on it anyway. So all in all, it's kind of like a mixture. But racial traits, I think, are probably well due for an overhaul in the game anyway. It would have been nicer if they did do a complete overhaul, since they're having to generate new ones for the high elf anyway. If they did a complete overhaul of all the racial traits, I appreciate that could be a bit of a balancing issue going forwards as well, that they probably don't want to get themselves into, but have kind of just decided, right, let's just copy what we've got already, stick that in there. Now maybe this for the high elf is definitely subject to change. What you see here is not necessarily what will go live, but maybe as well down the road they will do like a rework on all these racial traits for all races at some point. They haven't said they will, but it would be nice if they did. So, but all in all, I can certainly see this being quite nice, especially for a captain. I mean, this synergizes very nicely with a captain. So you've got your light type damage, your sword damage bonus, an extra revive, screw it, the damage bonus, everything is very nicely geared for a high elf captain. Well, not being outwardly bad anyway for the other races. So, and just to say as well, because I know someone's going to ask in the video, if you're asking what cosmetic I'm wearing at the moment, I'll show you the back as well, because the cloak is quite nice. I'll turn around and you can probably see it a bit better in the daylight. Yeah, it's a funky cloak, but you probably, if you don't know what this is, you're not going to be able to get it, is the gist of it. This is the Festive Azure Cloak, which I believe is like a Year 5 or Year 6 reward gift for playing the game that long. Because I got that in one of the boxes at the start of the game, so I think you're out of luck if you haven't been playing long enough to get it. But just because inevitably someone's going to ask. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that then. I hope you guys are looking forward to seeing the High Elf in game. And apparently as well, something I've been seeing in chat is a lot of the people that you meet as part of the intro area, it sounds like you bump into them throughout the game as well, which would be interesting. I mean, obviously like Elrond and all that are already in game, but it sounds like they might be adding in, maybe as part of the class quests at the various levels, that you're going to bump into some of these guys that you know from back in the day, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, you're alive and well, you've been asleep for 3,000 years or whatever it's been. But it looks interesting at least, so I hope you guys have enjoyed that, and hopefully there'll be some more Mordor preview videos, depending on how many more weeks of beta there's going to be. But until next time, see you guys later.